The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Wednesday, the second day of June, 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Michaela Ian. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. If you're watching online, share the link. If you're on Facebook, start that watch party. If you're on Twitter, retweet it. If you're watching on Channel 82 or listening on the Full 100 radio station, call someone up, let them know that we're on. Just get the conversation out there to your network, and don't forget to like and engage with us. Another good one today as we welcome MP Susan Jackson to the show. The Daily Play is a say it, don't sing it. So Michaela's going to be guessing the lyrics to the song today. This is a cool one. This is a cool one. I think I don't know. I don't know. Phil didn't give any hints last night for this one, but this is a good one. I think you're going to get this, Kills.
We will see. Good morning, everybody. I hope you are having a beautiful Wednesday so far.
Well, if they aren't, they're about to. They're about to.
They are about to.
We're going to make it that way. Well, since you're sharing your mug, I'm going to share mine.
Hey, full of
if you don't have a mug yet, just hit engage at thedailyhour.com. Make sure you get yourself a mug. Good Day Bermuda started yesterday. Just want to let everyone know, Good Day Bermuda did start yesterday with Jackie and Teresa, and they are quite the characters. Trust me, it's some way to wake up the energy that the ladies.
Yes.
So if you haven't caught it live, make sure you go back and check them out. Tomorrow, I believe they'll have Rajan from the Bermuda Cricket Border Control on. So good conversations with Jackie and Teresa. So make sure you go follow Good Day Bermuda, and just see what the show is all about. You won't be disappointed. They actually talked about this morning, Kales. They mentioned snowballs, right? And snowies. And it wasn't until last week, check this now, it wasn't until last week that I realized my wife had never heard of a snowball, like a Bermuda snowball. She didn't. Yeah. I thought that I had told her. I feel like I failed in a certain department that she didn't know about a snowball.
It's so funny because I don't eat snowballs.
Oh, really?
No, like I used to eat them when I was a child, but then like the older I get, the sweet is just not it. Like it's not it. Like I don't put sugar in my coffee or anything. I don't do sweet drinks. So yeah, I'm team ice cream. I don't do snowballs at all.
Interesting, because I don't add sugar to anything either. Like I just add salt, but I don't tea. It's just straight tea.
Yeah, that's me.
Honey and raw honey or something. But
this is medium dark roast and oat milk. Like no sugar, no nothing.
Okay.
So the sweets,
No to the sweets, folks. No to the sweets. So look, we have a big discussion this morning. Definitely want to get the audience perspective on this. So basically yesterday, the Minister of Labor, Jason Hayward, basically Bermudians urged to apply for closed category jobs, right? So that's our discussion this morning. And according to the Royal Gazette, unemployed Bermudians are being urged to contact the Workforce Development Department in order to fill vacant positions. In another move to protect job opportunities for Bermudians, work permits submitted by non-Bermudians partners, quote, will generally not be approved at this time, end quote. So here's the thing. And maybe I should share the restricted job categories. They are bank teller, general bartender, commercial cleaner, residential cleaner, fisherman, travel agent, consultant, administrative assistant, room attendant, kitchen porter, dishwasher. It goes on to HR manager, recruiter. It's a bunch of protected job categories.
It's a lot, but I think the thing that we have to keep in mind here is that there were a lot that were actually added to this. So like, for instance, I have a public relations marketing background. That was never a closed category. And then reporters and journalists, again, never a closed category because most of my former colleagues were from the UK. Most of my former colleagues when I worked in PR were not Bermudian. So it's really interesting that they've added to this because I guess they see that, wait a second, there are Bermudians who can do this and do it really well. So I definitely think that this is interesting. I think the part that a lot of people jumped out at were there will be no work permits for partners of Bermudians. That's an interesting bit. So basically, if you are not Bermudian and you live in Bermuda with your Bermudian, well, not spouse because you're not married, but partner, you can't get work permit.
I did pick. I would say that's probably the most interesting thing I picked up from the article. Like it's a tough one, and one of the responses I saw in the comments, I believe, was like, "Okay, so you're basically telling a spouse of a Bermudian that if they can't survive." Not spouse of Bermudian, but a spouse of someone who's working in Bermuda, that if they can't survive one income, then they have to leave, and we have to,
or they have to get married.
Yeah, they have to, or they have to get engaged and married, right? And some people just don't want to get married, and then others are in a tough position where, okay, I'm going to take my marbles and go find a jurisdiction where both of us can work. So I get what the government's trying to do. I'm just not quite sure that they can fix this in this manner, Kales.
So the thing about it for me is that I get it. I get where the minister is coming from. Bermudians need to get back to work. Bermudians absolutely need to get back to work. But I think the crux of this is, are Bermudians wanting these jobs?
Aha!
That's the part that will be interesting because, and I'm not trying to speak for everyone by any means, but there are a lot of people who are not working. Okay. There were a lot of people who have been laid off, have been struggling for the past year. And I just want to know, are these jobs for them? Are they for Bermudians who are not working? Are they going to be able to make a livable wage?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's some questions I jotted down because you're actually going right where, like, I what I had jotted down. One is, what is the reason these positions aren't filled with Bermudians? Because I think we have to, like, where you were going just now, let's address the root cause. Like, what are the reasons Bermudians aren't filling these positions? Here's another one. Is it known that Bermudians in these job categories are treated less favorable? Like, are Bermudians treated less favorable? Are they offered the same pay or less? And can the money they're making from their stretch to even help them survive in Bermuda where they live? Like, they can't go anywhere else. So I think from those couple of questions, I think it'll be important for the minister, because I think the Royal Gazette said they had sent questions on April 30th and still had not received a response. I think it would be important for the minister to actually provide some context. Like, let us know why Bermudians aren't in these positions or applying for these positions. Do we have any further data or research about this?
Right. And that's the thing, because like I look at these categories again, and I mean, general bartenders, that's been a closed category for a really long time. But then I look at like commercial cleaners, for instance, there are, in what I've seen, and I'm just speaking from what I've seen, a lot of the people who work in that industry, from what I have seen, are not Bermudians. And then a lot of these make sense. So travel agent consultants, administrative assistants, most of the room attendants at hotels are Bermudian women. And then you look at like HR, usually Bermudians. So a lot of these categories are categories where Bermudians tend to work. But then when we look at like landscape gardener, for instance, that was a big topic, I want to say almost a year ago, when there was a large group of the Portuguese Azores population who left the island. And that was a whole thing as well. So I just want to know, is it a case of these jobs are not, quote unquote, for Bermudians because the wage isn't livable? Or is it a case of employers prefer to hire non-Bermudians so that, they can do things a little differently?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, these questions need to be answered because I think with the minister getting out there and just saying, trying to encourage Bermudians to apply for these jobs, I'm like, no, we need more. Like, we need to understand why Bermudians aren't applying, and then once we figure that out, let's figure out a plan. How do we address this issue?
Right. And I think it would be key, honestly, if there were, I mean, I'm not saying that the government hasn't done this, but has market research taken place? Have you brought in, 100 non-employed Bermudians and asked them why they're not applying for these sort of jobs? Why aren't these jobs attractive? I'm not saying that the jobs aren't attractive to them, but if they're not, why aren't they attractive? What's the reason that you're not applying for these kind of jobs? Is it that the companies are not paying enough money? Is it that the hours are too long for too little pay? Is it that the labor is a bit too much? All of these things need to be taken into consideration, because otherwise we're just going to blanket say, oh, well, there's all these jobs and Bermudians don't want them.
Right.
Then in reality, that's probably not true.
Yeah, indeed. I want to get some feedback from the audience. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the minister encouraging Bermudians to apply for the closed job categories? What are you hearing? Like, why aren't people applying? Why aren't Bermudians in these positions? Katora Kales.
Sure. Katora Horton Parentry says Bermudians want and can do every job, but the crux is a livable wage. Absolutely. We have to make ends meet. Yes, I agree 100%.
But so a question to that is, there are people who will say, well, I understand livable wage, but hold on, you're getting paid to do this. I mean, something's better than nothing. What about the people who say that? I
don't agree with that. I am a big proponent for being paid based on the value that you bring. Okay. So if you are an excellent gardener, for instance, and I say gardener because that's one of the categories, and your employer is like, I'm going to pay you $7 an hour to work 12 hours a day. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You want me to be in the hot sun every day gardening, and you want to pay me $7 an hour times 12.
Yeah.
No.
I got like I want people to highlight what Michaela said just now. I've said this to people recently. Like, it's about value. Like, and so it's easy to look at people who are not working and say, oh, you don't really want to work. Oh, these jobs are available. Not at the end of the day, it's not just putting people in a position where they're desperate and you can treat them and pay them any way they want.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, on this story, there were comments and someone made a list of like 10 different things that Bermudians need to do in order to be attractive employees. And number 9 said something to the effect of, know that your boss is always right no matter what. And I was like, I'm sorry. No. You're not going to have people in your employment and believe that you are always right and your way or the highway, and no matter what you say or do, you can do whatever you want. You're right. Like, absolutely not. And that's the attitude that a lot of employers seem to have. And that's why there's high turnover of Bermudian staff, it seems. And a lot of these jobs that are, lower paid jobs that require more labor, because who wants to deal with that? If you're not being paid a livable wage and your boss is acting like everything that he or she does and says is right, like, that's not okay. It's not okay.
We're hitting it today, folks. Like I said, if you have any comments or questions regarding today's discussion, the protected job categories, please feel free to share. Rick Olson says exceptions are made for some, like the St. Regis, who have been given 130 plus permits to utilize as they see fit. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. They got it because you need special certifications for a 5-star or something, I read somewhere.
I'm not 100% sure, but I know that whatever their deal with work permits was all a part of the overall deal.
Got it.
But I think that was for the construction, not necessarily the jobs on site.
Okay.
Could be wrong though.
Okay, we'll get some more information on that for sure.
Yeah.
Richardson says the premier keeps saying he's led by data referring to COVID decisions. I'd really like to know if this is the case in other areas. Well, that goes back to what we were saying. Like, I'd like to know, instead of the Minister of Labor getting out there and just telling us Bermudians aren't filling the jobs, like, we deserve more answers. Why aren't Bermudians filling these jobs?
Exactly.
Why? Once we find out, how can we address Bermudians not filling these jobs? Like, it's too. We're not asking a lot.
No, we're not. And that's the thing about it. It's fine to come out and be like, Bermudians need to apply for these jobs. Here are the categories, right into workforce development. Absolutely. But at the same time, you need to come out and say, traditionally, Bermudians haven't worked in these fields because of XYZ. And now we would like more Bermudians to work there and employers to create a livable wage, something along those lines, because people need to get back to work. But at the same time, employers also need to ensure, I'm not saying all employers don't, but employers need to ensure that their staff are being treated like valuable human beings, especially if the staff are showing up and doing what it is that they need to do day in, day out.
Okay. Quick question for the audience as I go through, we go through some more comments. If you were down and out, if you lost your job and, you didn't have any prospects, would you apply for a job in these protected categories just to have some income? Would you do that? Go ahead, Kales. I want to get you.
I was just saying, there's actually quite a few categories within this that do require a university degree.
Yes.
Like in order to be an HR officer manager, you need a degree. In order to do PR, you need a degree. In order to be a reporter / journalist, you need a degree.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that all of them are quote unquote lower end paying jobs, but a lot of them, of course, are. And then that goes back to the whole livable wage.
Indeed. Bobby Singh, she says, some of those jobs treat employees like slaves. No Bermudian would have put up with that type of treatment or wage. And bravo to them. Hence, desperate foreigners are hired. Dr. Kenderly Pierman says Bermudians are devalued.
Yep.
I think this is a sentiment
that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Say it, Michaela Cotortnam. She says, pay people what they're worth to do the job they're required to do. I agree.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. Like, I feel like in 2021, coming off a pandemic where so many people have been either unemployed or underemployed for almost a year now, I think people want to work. People want to provide for their families. Like, I don't know anyone who wants to sit and collect a check from the government for $500 a week, because that's not really livable if you have a family, Yeah. So I know that people want to work, but at the same time, you must value the person. You must value the employee. You can't just, because it's a closed category and Bermudians need jobs, go, okay, well, here's what I'm offering you, $7 an hour, $12 a day, show up, do what I say, don't backtalk, don't argue, etc. Like, that's just not okay.
Yeah, the human element must be there.
Right.
We can't forget the human element. I'm saying element. Let's go through a couple more comments, then we'll bring Lee in. Anika DeShields agree that Bermudians can do every job, less inclined to believe that they want to do any job. Several don't want to work shifts or holidays. And to be fair, I remember hearing that, to be fair, at the end of it, and here's my thing with this. For so long, and Tamra, who's basically our resident wellness expert, and we will be doing after MP Jackson, we'll be doing our movement moment today. But she spoke about sleep last month, right? And for so long, we have made it cool to work multiple jobs and work shifts and holidays, right? And we're in a space now where we really need to ask ourselves, is this normal? Is this something that should be celebrated? Is this something, we're talking about family time. We're talking about mental health and physical health. Right?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Like, and when I first started my career at Royal Gazette back in 2007 as a full-time reporter, I had to work shifts. There were many times I worked 2 to 10. There were many holidays that I worked, and when I had my son, I was still doing that, and it got unbearable. I actually left the Royal Gazette, took a pay cut, and went to the Bermuda Sun because it was way more flexible.
Right.
My mental health was more valued because I didn't have to work crazy hours.
Right.
So no, I don't want to work shifts or holidays, and I'm not going to sit here and shame anyone who doesn't want to do that either.
Exactly.
Absolutely not.
Exactly. And that's it, Michaela. Like, we're in a space today where at the end of the day, there are more things to value than that place.
Yes.
Well, there are some people who will do it, and that's great. That's great. But we can't look upon people poorly because they choose not to.
No, we can't. I mean, obviously, if the job requires it, if you're in hospitality, that's one thing, but I'm not going to stand here and shame anyone who's like, I don't want to work shifts or holiday, because I don't want to do it either, frankly.
Indeed. Bit behind. Let's bring in Lee. Lee, we didn't forget about you. A hot one today. Morning to you. A hot one today as we're talking about job categories. So very interesting perspectives coming from the audience. And of course, Michaela and myself with strong opinions. But not sure if you're covering it in your news, but it's, I guess what I would love to know from the minister is the data. Where's the data that says why Bermudians aren't applying for these jobs? I hope that we get some information. Now, Leanna, you're not the Royal Gazette, right? And with all due respect to the Royal Gazette, they did state that the minister hasn't answered them from April 30th. I think you're a nice person. I think they might actually respond to you. I'm just saying, Lee, they might like you. So
it's on my list to reach out today. Don't worry. Trust me. I allowed you guys to cover it because I knew it would be a hot topic this morning. So I said, you know what? I'll let you guys run with it. I've got some other hot stories today, so I will run with that. But it is definitely something. It's a hot discussion this morning.
All right. Well, let's get to the news break. Over to you, Lee.
Thanks, Jamala, Michaela, and good morning to all who are tuned into our show this morning. Very hot topics. We hope that you're having a great start to your day. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for our daily hour news break. Now, taking a look at today's top stories, well, we've been waiting patiently, and last night's update showed we could be turning the corner yet again to the road to recovery. Yes, as of this coming Sunday, the Ministry of Health revealed indoor service at bars, restaurants, and nightclubs can resume under a string of new health guidelines. Now, shops and grocery stores will be permitted to open with no limits on capacity, and gathering sizes are increasing to a maximum of 50 persons. Seating at bars will also be permitted. The move to the phase 3 COVID-19 guidelines means that the island's curfew also moves from midnight to 5 a.m., and recreational boating will also move from 5 a.m. until 11 p.m. Weddings, funerals, and domestic partnership ceremonies will also be allowed for indoor and outdoor ceremonies, with also a maximum of 50 people, along with churches being allowed to resume, but they do not actually have to adhere to the max gathering size. However, congregations must continue to wear masks. Meanwhile, barbershops, beauty salons, spas, and massage therapists can also open their doors and offer services that require face masks to be removed, but staff must continue to wear their masks at all times. Theaters, libraries, and galleries can also open with a max of 50 people. Health Minister Kim Wilson said, quote, Bermuda is slowly and cautiously opening, and we are seeing light at the end of this tunnel, end quote. The phase 3 health restrictions against the coronavirus come into effect as the island saw no new cases of the virus in the last test results. Yesterday marks the 4th consecutive day with no positive cases. To see the full list of details, just head over to the government website. Shocked and amazed is how BIU President Chris Burbett described feelings towards legal changes that came into effect yesterday in the fight over decertification. Now, speaking at a press conference yesterday, the BIU boss passionately expressed the union's refusal to back down regarding the union decertification votes, despite the Bermuda Public Services Union acceptance of the deal. Now, both unions had argued previously together that non-unionized staff should not be able to vote on whether a workplace would keep union representation. However, the BPSU accepted the government's move on decertification after earlier opposition alongside the BIU. Now, Mr. Burbett went as far as describing the move by its sister union as dropping them off like an unwanted date, and that the decertification vote should have never come under a labor government. The BIU president made it very clear that the BIU will fight on and said discussions would continue on this quote-unquote delicate issue between the government and until the union can continue to come to some sort of resolve. As he says, their survival depends on it. And some might say it's a long time coming, but one of the island's most frequented docks is to finally get a proper facelift. The city of Hamilton announced it will be undergoing a 6-week program to facilitate major upgrades to All Boys Point. Now, the scenic park, which overlooks Hamilton Harbor, is expected to get more seats and shade, spotlights for trees, and improved pedestrian access. The revamp will also include a more prominent spot for the monument to the Second World War armed merchant cruiser HMS Jervis Bay. An improved electrical supply will also be installed to boost the area's capacity for holding events, as well as a trench dig with the installation of a sewage line next to the terminal building. The point will get a wider waterside steps to the lower dock. The public is reminded that there will be limited parking and access during this renovation period. Taking a look at today's weather, there is a high near 80 with a low near 73 degrees. Today we'll see a mix of sun and clouds. The Bermuda Azores high remains firmly in place through the duration of the week, delivering plenty more dry and sunny weather in a warm southeasterly breeze. During the weekend, the wind flow taps a little more southerly, increasing chances for a few showers. That's all for our daily hour news break. I'm Liana Lambert. Let's head back over to the Jamal and Michaela in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
Hey, I gotta say this, Kales. I'm not trying to be Don King or an instigator, but did you say the BIU and BPSU? Well, you didn't say it. I'm gonna say I sense there's trouble in paradise.
A little bit.
Oh, it's about to
be.
I'm sorry. That's not all I talked, but I heard that. I'm like, oh boy, the BPSU
dropped off like an unwanted date.
Oh, it's drama. It's folks.
Yep.
We will be watching that. We're going to be watching that closely. Lee, thank you so much. You got questions. I've got questions about that. Mm-hmm. We'll see you tomorrow, Lee. Thanks so much.
Sure, guys. Bye, Lee. Have a good day.
All righty, Liana Lambert with your news break today. Boy, it looks like some action. It's always action with the unions. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with our guest for the day, MP Susan Jackson. Stick with us.
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's favorite distributor of fine beverages, has brought us a new and refreshing thirst quencher just in time for the approaching warm weather. Hint Water in 7 luscious flavors. Hint Water is slaking the thirst of active people who need pure hydration, low on the glycemic index, and want the kind of taste experience that keeps them coming back to try the next flavor. For those who've been giving water a miss, Hint may win you over. Hint Water. No sugar, no additives, all flavor. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. She's Michaela, and I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House One Communications, Lindo's, and our friends over at Channel 82, where you can watch this and many other locally produced shows. Without further ado, let's bring our guest for the day, MP Susan Jackson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. We are good. Thank you.
Yeah, outside of Michaela starting trouble about job categories this morning. But obviously, you probably have a lot of opinions on that as well. But today, we want to talk about women in politics, and being the only woman in the opposition, we'll definitely discuss that. But just first speak to us about, you're in politics. I believe 2012 you were first elected, right? In 2012.
That's correct. Yes.
Under the One Bermuda Alliance. What made you pursue politics? It would be easy for us to say, oh, well, she's the daughter of a former MP, a very celebrated and honorable lady, Miss Louise Jackson. But what was that your only, the only thing that drove you towards it? What made you decide to take this path?
I believe that it has become a part of the DNA in me because, an awful lot of it is the influence from my family. I mean, my father sat in the Senate as president of the Senate for 15, 17 years. I was raised from a very small child in a very, I don't want to say political, but certainly in the public service. That was the modus operandi for the family. And so I have to confess that there was a huge part of me as just a part of my intuition that public service would be a part of my life at some stage. And ahead of that, I haven't sort of studied politics. I don't consider myself to be a hardcore politician. I consider myself to be more of a public servant, and that's what I do on a daily basis.
That's incredible. So tell us how it feels to be the only woman in the House for the OBA.
I can't say that it feels particularly different at this stage. Being a woman and very new in 2012, I believe that the distinction really was that I was I was a bit of a neophyte, and I was sitting with so many people that had long service and a lot of experience in the political arena. And now that I've been in the political arena for 7 years or so, the confidence level of just understanding Parliament and understanding how government works has put me on a more even keel with my colleagues that have more experience. But as a woman, I'm finding there is less and less of a distinction the more I become familiar with the parliamentary process.
That's really interesting. And I want to ask you, why do you feel that women are underrepresented in politics? Do you think it has anything to do with, if we have children and we're trying to do the household stuff plus the job stuff and then the politics is extra? Or do you think it's something different?
I guess I would begin a little, sort of a 30,000 foot view of it. And I would say that the commitment and the responsibility is quite a heavy weight to carry. And if a woman is also caring for children, caring for their parents, holding a full-time job, in some cases are the main breadwinner, it's really, really difficult to then take on the complexities and the demands of government. There are 36 of us that are basically holding the reins and trying our best to chart the course for 64,000 people and beyond. And it's really difficult for a woman who has so many other responsibilities to be able to give that kind of commitment with a full heart and with all of their attention.
No, I totally get that. Like, as a mother and a career woman, like I couldn't imagine how you could juggle all the balls, because it's just a lot, right?
Yes, and I have to be honest with you. I was, as a child that was raised in a family that has always been a part of the parliamentary process and politics. It was really important for me to get to the stage where my children had sort of left the nest and were independent enough that I could then dedicate more time to public service. And even at their ages, and they're now, full adults, I still feel it. I still feel that there are times when I have to turn my attention away from my children and their concerns in order to prioritize some of the maybe emergency or important issues that need to be attended to in public service. So it's a real balancing act, and I would say that the children of politicians who are mothers is probably really important, because you don't want to traumatize your children either when they grow up and find that they feel as though they've been either alienated or in some way, sort of neglected because their mother has been so involved in politics.
No, I totally understand that. So how do you think having more women in the House or in the Senate, politicians in general, would that create change or cause a greater impact overall?
Oh, I'm like, yay! And I'll say why. At first, I want to backtrack. So, more women in Parliament, for me, is not so much that women can then sort of go in there. I don't feel as though it's a race or a competition with men. What I do believe strongly is that women bring a certain skill set and a certain perception of how things might be able to be done that I believe, if done well, that it would complement what some of the existing more male-dominated behaviors, and I don't necessarily mean that by sort of personal behaviors, but parliamentary behaviors, and the way that we get the work of Parliament done. I believe that there are women that bring a certain skill sets that that will fill gaps that have previously been in Parliament.
I agree. I think you're saying women are more efficient and we can run the world and dominate and do the thing.
Michaela,
right?
You've got the competitive edge there. You've got the competitive edge. But we do bring different things. And you know, I'm going to get personal here for a moment. I'm not one who runs out to find the spotlight. I'm not angry and emotive about issues yet. But my skill set that I believe that I can bring to the parliamentary process is that, you know, I very much understand and understand the importance of things like procedures and the process of in particular the development of laws, etc. I believe in following those rules, and also I sometimes believe that giving a different view, parliamentarians sometimes can really get down into the weeds, and so it's really important, I believe, to have people who are seeing things, you know, at the wider view, people who see the overall vision, some people who really see the result, and so if there are different personalities with different skill sets contributing to the overall ambition of getting the right answer and the right result for the population that's being you know, that the government is working to improve their lives, and then having women there that can provide those different skills means a lot.
Yeah, so I totally agree. So tell me what kind of legacy you want to leave behind.
For me, it's a personal legacy. I spend an awful lot of time in the constituency. I believe that it's important to build those personal relationships. And so it would be an honor for me to be remembered for the things that I did on a one-on-one, that people would be able to say, Susan touched my life because she was able to, you know, help me here, or that she was able to bring this particular policy into place and how it has improved my standard of living or my quality of life. And so it really, for me, it's that personal service to the community, whether it's one-on-one or if there, you know, an opportunity comes that evolves and that happens to have a positive impact on a broader section of the community. That would be my legacy.
I love that. So tell me, what would you say to encourage more women to get involved in politics?
I'd start with that desire, the feeling of having or wanting to take responsibility for the care and the support of our community. It's also a fantastic opportunity to learn more about how parliaments work, how laws are created, the excitement and the challenge of debate. If a person, a woman in particular, is interested in getting involved in politics, I believe that it has great benefit to sort of start at the foundation and to have an interest in Parliament. And that's why I have to give an awful lot of kudos to youth parliaments, because in high school, and there are some phenomenal young people who are involved in youth parliament, who are involved in debate, and bring up your strengths that way versus getting emotionally attached to one particular issue, and then it's more emotive and more combative because it's you've just kind of gone straight at it, versus starting at that foundation and seeing where amendments can be made in legislation, seeing where debate can help to change people's minds or to see things differently, and to kind of work one's way up in a more diplomatic way. I believe that would be sort of an interesting tack for women to take to get involved in the parliamentary process and politics.
All right. If you have any questions or comments for MP Jackson, we will read them, so don't be discouraged. We haven't gotten to them yet. We will share them. On the back of some of the things you said just now in regards to Michaela's questions, is it a gender issue or one of conscience that you believe is most important in politics? And the reason I asked that is I remember former U.S. President Barack Obama saying the world would be a better place with more women in politics. And while I think I get his point, I'm just not quite sure that he was talking about a Sarah Palin or a Marjorie Taylor Greene, or you know what I'm saying? So how much of a role does the conscience play versus the gender?
That's I almost sort of feel like that's a trick one. That's a challenging question for me. Definitely more women in governments provides for me the diversity, the inclusiveness, a better representation of the population, and so it's seeing things as a more balanced and more reflective. But from a conscience perspective, I believe that we have to roll with the punches as a society, and you're going to get different views from different people, and it's the ability for governments to understand that diversity can sort of evolve and be a part of the conscious piece as well. And we have to be prepared and open to the fact that there are different opinions out there in this world, and how best to know how to manage that, or to somewhat embrace it and find the goodness in it. We have our freedoms, so we can't dictate people's thoughts or their freedom of speech. But what we can do is be as representative and as inclusive as possible.
Gotcha. And I want to speak about women leadership a bit more as far as the premier. Bermuda has had 3 women premiers off the top of my head, I believe, starting with Dame Pamela, Dame Jennifer, and then the most recent former Premier Cox. We currently have our first woman governor. However, as Michaela's questions and the conversation has seen, there are still a lack of women involved in politics. How far do you believe we're away from having another woman as premier in Bermuda?
Well, right now, just because so many women that are in Bermuda's parliament have only really begun their journey, there are many new female parliamentarians that I would not suspect that it will be right away. One of the other pieces that I kind of want to get in here is that we are working in a structure that was created with the thought that it was going to be all men all of the time. And so, you know, women entering into this arena and then becoming premier is almost like this Band-Aid on a structure that probably needs some massaging to make it a more balanced platform for women to really succeed in. So I believe that it's very challenging for women at the leadership role to kind of maneuver and work within something that historically was created by men. So we've kind of lost that. We've kind of lost, you know, the all of the opportunities that women in leadership could have. I believe because we're working on a model that was created by men, and so yeah, but you know, it more success with more openness to make whatever changes or evolutions to government and the way governments work, to make it more balanced for people. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be for women, right? We've got age, we've got race, and many of these traits show up in this traditional structure that make it difficult because we haven't necessarily changed the structure to accommodate or to balance things like gender, race, or age in Parliament.
You hit on something just now. Because as you were speaking, I was just thinking from a racial perspective. You know, it's sometimes it feels like, and I'll use diversity. When you look on LinkedIn any day of the week, there's a new chief diversity officer, and who is the person filling the position? It's a Black woman, right? Person. And so, is this just putting a Band-Aid on a culture that was built for, you know, certain people to succeed, and we're just going to put these people in position? So there was a lot in what you just said that I actually have to go back and watch and digest, because I appreciate it and definitely agree. Got some questions in the audience. Sean Smith is asking, does the OBA have an active campaign to encourage women to run for public office?
So yes, I would say it is an active campaign. It doesn't necessarily have to be a public campaign, but we certainly do provide platforms for women to network with each other. We have a good bit of education in the form of either one-on-one or small group sessions to learn more about the parliamentary process, to learn more about debate. We do an outreach, so there is constant mentoring and menteeing. So yes, we do spend an awful lot of time nurturing the women, youth into the political arena and supporting them.
Okay. Well, MP Jackson, honestly, it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you, and definitely you gave me a lot to think about in terms of what you've shared. Whether or not more women equates to better governance, I'm still left wondering about that question, because as you stated, and I don't know why, but I take out of everything you've said, what I'm taking away is, you know, it's a structure that really wasn't built for everyone to be successful and make the changes that there are. So final question before you head off is, how do we change that to make sure that it's not just people of a certain gender or race or sexuality? How do we change that? Can we change it?
So my suggestion would be that it's about looking at the structure of it all. You know, sometimes I have to smile when we're in debate and there are parliamentarians that are so frustrated because, Even though we have a government that is more representative of the population, they're still constantly struggling and knocking up against walls. And I'm sitting back and I'm sitting there thinking, and it's the Band-Aid situation, right? Guys, we're putting a Band-Aid on a structure that fundamentally was not there to support racial diversity, age, gender diversity. So until we are able to give some time to the structures, and that's across the board. It's in education. It's in the workforce. It's the structure probably needs to be looked at, and consciously and slowly and subtly needs to become more flexible and more nimble to allow for change to take place. And that in and of itself will then introduce more women, more youth, various different races and cultures to get involved in government. But right now, it definitely is structured in such a way that it's kind of hardcore. Some of it I firmly believe in. The parliamentary process, I think, is working quite well overall, and I speak to that in a global level. But certainly there are other issues in other areas within government where it's structural, it's historical.
Indeed. MP Jackson, thank you so much for this conversation, trusting our platform. Definitely a lot more to discuss with people like yourself, the only woman in the opposition. We appreciate the work you do and look forward to having you back sometime.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care and have a great day.
You as well. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful conversation there. We're going to have the movement moment, 2 to 3 minutes. We have Tamara Donnell. It's men's health. This is an important one. If you haven't already, share and retweet men's health. We'll be back. Don't forget, Michaela's guessing the lyrics to a song. It's going to be good. Here you go.
This movement moment brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Together, we can illuminate your path to wellness.
Welcome to today's movement moment with Tamara Donnell, brought to you by People's. Tamara, what are we discussing today?
Good morning, Jamal, and good morning to your listening audience. Today, we are ushering in the month of June with Men's Health Month. At People's and the People's BDA page on Instagram, this month we will be focusing on the men in our lives. We know Father's Day is in June. We know usually men aren't the quickest to run to the doctor, so we felt like it was very important that we spent this month focusing on the importance of putting the men in our lives' health front and center. So this month we hope to discuss and shine light on the importance of the age-related testing that is a good idea for men to do on an annual basis. So depending on your age, the screening for the following can potentially save the lives of the men in your life. Prostate health, screening for obesity, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, colorectal cancer, depending on the age, sexually transmitted infections. It's also HIV Awareness Month, so definitely a good thing to screen for that, depending on your life choices and where you are in your life. So yeah, this month we will make a concerted effort to make sure that the men in our lives get the full attention of our health focus over on People's BDA and over on the Movement with Tamara Donnell page, I guess by default, as we'll be focusing on the sun and the importance of the sun in our lives, that will also have some importance for the men in your life, because the sun is important to all of us. The vitamin D that the sun synthesizes using our skin, our exposed skin, it's important to all of us for health outcomes.
A topic like this is always, so close to myself as a man, hitting 40 soon. And so it's often topic of conversation in some of my chat groups where, hey, fellas, make sure you get checked and so on. And I never understood until, I got a bit older, how often men don't go to see the doctor, how much of a concern it is.
Thank you for tuning into this movement moment. To enjoy the benefits of the full episode, check us at Instagram at MVMT with Tamara Donnell or at People's BDA.
Tune in to the Full 100 Radio every Tuesday through Sunday at 7 p.m. Bermuda time as we bring you the love, romance, sexiness with nighttime jams. Only on your station for conversations and entertainment. The Full 100 Radio. Download the app available for Android and Apple devices.
Welcome back. Thanks again to One Communications, Medical House Lindos, all of our friends, Tamara with Movement, brought to you by People's Channel. Appreciate you. And thanks again to MP Susan Jackson. If you really enjoyed this conversation, Women in Politics, please give us a thumbs up, a like, a love. Let us know that you appreciated that conversation. It was a wealth of knowledge. Any final thoughts on that conversation, Kels?
I just thought that the way she talked about how the system was never structured for us, like I'd never thought about it from that point of view. So that kind of like rocked me a little bit because she's correct. Like it was not built for us. It was never built for us to succeed. So I think that's a really interesting way to look at it. And then at the same point, okay, well, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, no, honestly, I don't know MP Jackson personally, so I was actually impressed with the responses as it relates to the current system.
Absolutely.
So I appreciated the conversation very much and learned a lot. I learned a lot right there consciously. All right, daily playtime. Today it is the guest lyrics of the song. This is a good one. All right.
Okay.
Quote, here we go. Help Michaela out, folks. Quote, for all the mothers fighting for better days to come. And all my women sitting here trying to come home before sun, and all my sisters coming together, say, yes, I will. Yes, I can. Because I
am Superwoman. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
She got it, folks. She got it. She got it. All right, Kels. The thing is, nobody in the audience even answered yet, and you got it. So,
at first, I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is.
It is Alicia Keys' Superwoman.
Yes.
Felt it was appropriate for the occasion.
Absolutely.
Always a big Alicia Keys fan. And for those who don't know, when she got her first Grammy, she actually thanked a Bermudian, Elroy Smith, for being the first to play her music when he was the program director in Chicago, I believe, at WGCI. So, hey, look, we're tied in somewhere there. We are tied in somewhere.
Hey.
I know you've got some inspiration for us, Kels.
I got some inspiration today. So today's inspirational quote is, the best way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And that comes from Walt Disney.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Disney, I think, is about the largest media company in the world now.
Yes.
A man with vision, right?
And fun fact, Walt Disney and I have the same birthday. So,
Really? Okay.
Vision.
December.
Come on.
December 3rd. 5th. See, I was going to say first 5 days of December. I was going to say first 5 days of December. Folks, don't forget, catch Good Day Bermuda. It precedes the Daily Hour. You can follow and like them on social media. Good Day Bermuda with Terry and Jackie. Really great way to start your day. Tomorrow, some energy coming. We've got Rusty G and Firewing. We're talking about their new hit song. So make sure you don't miss that one. Question from the audience. Teresa Brentano asks, how can companies become sponsors of the Daily Hour? Thank you for that, Teresa. You can actually write to us, engage@thedailyhour.com. So engage@thedailyhour.com. Any final words before we head out, Kels?
Tune in tomorrow, because if you want to see me acting like a crazy person because I love soca and Post Op is my current jam, like, you want to be here. Definitely.
We want to see her acting like a crazy person. We want to see that. Folks, again, if you loved, liked, or enjoyed today's episode, make sure you show us some love. If you've won something from the Daily Hour, also, please remember yesterday's winner was Takia Tucker. Send us an email at engage@thedailyhour.com so we can get you your prize and your winnings. All right. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, and Linda's, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you. We love you. And we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. She's Michaela Ann. I'm Jamel Hartman. My friends, make it a great day. Peace.
Deuces.